Hello everyone, welcome to Kiwi Bird's Corner, and today I'm going to be showing you 17 books to read on a rainy day. So these are a couple recommendations that I really enjoy and I think would be great for a rainy day. Book number 1. If you've watched some of my other videos, you will know that I love Redwall. I think Redwall is such a cozy book to read during the rain because it's about animals and it's about forest living. And yes, it's about wars and adventures too, but it's just a great book to read while it's raining. So I love the entire Redwall series, but the first book I think is quite nice. It's about a young mouse and his kind of leading to what he does in the future, and it starts off the series. It's the first book in the series, so if you haven't read the series, it would be a great book to start with. But it's also just really cozy. They live in Abbey, and it's really nice to read in a rainy day, kind of English countryside, transporting to another world, all that. So yeah, I really recommend that for a rainy day. Book number 2 is Children of the River. So this one is a historical fiction, so maybe less cozy, but it also gives you some really warm, nice feelings that I absolutely love. The genre of this is historical fiction, realistic fiction, and romance. It's just a really nice book to curl up with on a rainy day, and I find that reading historical fiction isn't maybe the most happy experience ever, but really well written, and the book just gives you a warm feeling inside, and it's great to see how the characters' problems are solved and see her journey through this book. So I also recommend this for a rainy day. Book number 3. So this book also belongs to a series, but it's not the first book in the series. It's actually the second book. But if you have read the first book, this would be a great book to read. And I say this because it's The Penderwicks on Garden Street, and it's set during fall, so of course while it's raining, it's just a perfectly cozy book to curl up with. It's about realistic fiction, it's about 4 sisters and their friend, and it's also just really, really cute and nice. The writing is just so entertaining and so funny, and I just love to see these 4 sisters. So if you have read the first book, or if you have read the whole series and you're looking for a reread, this is a great reread at this time of year, even if it isn't fall. Great reread this time of year, even if it isn't fall. It's still kind of chilly outside, and it's just very fun to curl up with. So the next book is, no surprise if you've watched some of my other videos, Harry Potter. And I'm going to recommend this because what is more cozy than a school in the English countryside with magic? I mean, just great book to just curl up with, and the whole series really. I find that just a great book to curl up with, and I find that it's pretty cozy, like the whole Hogwarts setting. The whole Hogwarts school is just really cozy. And for those of us who love Harry Potter, it's just kind of a comfort read. So a better time to read it than when it's cold outside. Okay, for my 5th book, I'm going to recommend The Secret Garden. I have a nice illustrated version here. And I think The Secret Garden is good to read on rainy days because it's one of those classics that you can kind of just curl up with, read for a while. It's not the longest book ever, so maybe you would finish it in one sitting. And it's also just kind of set in this countryside area, which is cold, and kind of seeing how the character explores the garden and all these things. And I especially love this illustrated version. You can see the illustrations are really nice. And then if you want to get into some classics, Secret Garden is pretty good. The language isn't too hard, I find. Maybe just some of the slang language is a little bit harder to understand, but overall it's pretty easy to understand and could be a great classic to start if you like that type of thing. Another book I'll recommend, which is book number 6, is Little Women, and it's another classic, but it is just a really cozy classic. It's about 4 sisters, and it's just great to see all the experiences they go through. It's realistic fiction, so it's really realistic and historical fiction, but it's just really fun to see their experiences and you can kind of relate to them. And it's also just a cozy book, so I recommend it for when it's raining also. The 7th book that I'll recommend is Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH, and I recommend this because, talking animals. Who wouldn't want to read talking animals when it's raining? This is also a classic, and just warning, on this channel I'll probably recommend a lot of classics. I mean, you need to read them, but classics are just a great pastime, and I find a lot of them are pretty cozy, so great for reading while it's raining. Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH is just a cute book, and it's about this society of rats and mice, and kind of how they're smart because of this experiment. And it's this whole thing, and I will try not to spoil it too much, but it's just really interesting to see. Okay, now for my 8th book that I'm going to recommend is Mossflower. This is another Redwall book, but I love this one because it shows some of the background of one of the main characters, almost part of their myths and their customs. So this is a really essential book to the series if you are going to read it. And it's also just really cozy, just set in the countryside, and it's animals, as I said before with the other one. And sure, the experiences aren't the most cozy ever, but this is just really fun book to read while it's raining. Okay, so for my 9th book, I'm going to recommend Book Scavenger. Because who wouldn't want to read a puzzle book with one of those typical games or things that they have to figure out while it's raining? I just love the sort of big game in a book genre, and this is one of those books. They're the perfect book to just curl up with and read on a rainy day. I love the puzzle element, and it's just really great overall. For the 10th book that I'm going to recommend is The Mapmakers. This is also part of a series, which I didn't know when I read this, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary to read the first book in the series. I probably would have if I had known, but I didn't, and I haven't read it yet. But I think this is a cute book because it's about map making and about kind of these people with special powers, and yeah, it has some conflicts and stuff, but it's also just a nice book to read while it's raining, set in London. Set in London. And maybe this would be for a bit younger readers, but it's also just, really cute. For my 11th book that I'm going to recommend is The Vanderbeekers of 141st Street. I'm going to recommend this because this is about a family, and they live in a brownstone in New York, and that is just a really, really cozy genre. And, well, not genre, the really, really cozy setting. And I love the story, and it's just one of those books that I would have read a while ago, and it kind of takes me back, memories and all that, and it gives me a really cozy feeling personally, so maybe you would want to try it. Okay, for my 12th book, I'm going to recommend The Wingfeather Saga. I love The Wingfeather Saga. This is actually just the first book, but I really recommend the entire series. It is very, very good. It's set in this fiction world, and that's just really cool to see. Cool to see the whole world and the world building, and I just really love it. I think it's perfect for any day, and rainy days are the perfect time to start these type of books. This is set in a small town. Who wouldn't want a small town and adventure book kind of wrapped into one on a rainy day? Okay, for the 13th book I'm going to recommend is part of a series also, but you can read this one first. In fact, this is the first one I read in the series, and that series is none other than The Chronicles of Narnia. This is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and it's set in a snowy Narnia. So cozy to read, and it's a really great winter story as it's winter right now, or just a rainy day story. Adventure, fictional worlds, just everything, and I absolutely love this book. It's perfect for rainy days, and it's not too long, so maybe if you have a lot of free time, you just sit down and finish this book. The 14th book I'm going to recommend is The Tale of Despereaux, and this is because it's about an animal, and you get to kind of see his perspective, and this whole thing. Yes, it's kind of a younger book, but it's also just so cute to read, and I really, really love to see the small mouse with the overly large ears, Despereaux, and yeah, it's just really cute and cozy read, and my books just fell over, but yeah, it's just a really cute, cozy read, and I recommend it, especially when it's raining, and it's written in a style that I love. I think this book will never get old for me because I just absolutely love the style that it's written in. It's kind of like a poetic language, but also the author is like talking to you. And I don't know, there's just something I love about that writing style. So, sorry, allergies. I really recommend this. The 14th book I'm going to recommend is The Mythmakers, and this one is a nonfiction book. It's about the life and friendship of C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, which is very interesting. And while it's not like a novel or kind of a chapter book, it's one of those books that's perfect to just sit down and read on a rainy day. One of those books where you learn something, but it's also really entertaining. It has these really cute illustrations, which just makes it really nice to read. I think it has some of these kind of comic parts, kind of like comic strip parts, and I just love the author's style of explaining this in a very simple, easy to understand way, and also just making it so fun to learn facts, which nonfiction isn't exactly the most fun genre, but I really love this, and it's such a nice book to just sit down and read on a cozy, rainy day because, yeah, you can just see the cover seems to say rainy day, and there's something about reading one of those books that's not quite a novel, but not like uninteresting on a rainy day that I just personally love. The 15th book I'm going to recommend is The Hobbit. I feel like I never get tired of recommending The Hobbit, and for a good reason. It's a wonderful adventure story, and the writing style just draws you in. There's like these such like funny parts to it that are just like so true but so funny, and I love how J.R.R. Tolkien incorporates that into his book. And it's a really cozy adventure story in this fantasy land to read on a rainy day. I just love adventure and fantasy on a rainy day, and so if you haven't read The Hobbit already, it is the perfect book to read on a rainy day. So my final book, the 16th book, is Wuthering Heights, which I have here on Kindle. Wuthering Heights. So this one is a classic, and not everyone is going to like this one. I did myself find it a bit weird. The name Wuthering Heights just seems to have rainy day written all over it. And the setting is really nice too. It's like kind of along these moors in this countryside. And what's interesting about this book, I read it very recently in fact, is that most of the story is told as a remembrance of this one housekeeper. That's a style that I've never read before, so it was interesting to read. Maybe not my favorite book ever, but it was certainly an interesting read. A perfect thing to read if you're bored on a rainy day, don't have anything else to pick up. Plus, it's a classic, so if you want to start classics, this might be a great one as well, although I wouldn't recommend starting classics with this one. This one might get you off onto the wrong page, but if you've read a couple classics, you like them, I would recommend Wuthering Heights on a rainy day. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe as it really helps my channel and it costs absolutely nothing to you. All you have to do is click a button and it really helps me. So thank you to those of you who do subscribe to my channel. Please feel free to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I hope you have a great time reading any books on a rainy day or any of my recommendations here, and I hope that if you pick up one of these book recommendations that you really enjoy it. Bye!